Well, the Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu is due to meet the German Chancellor Angela Merkel in Berlin this Friday. They'll be discussing a range of issues, including security following the deaths of 10 German tourists after a suicide bombing in Istanbul. But as Jon Brain reports from Berlin, much of the meeting will be focused on the refugee crisis.
And still they come. Europe had hoped that the flow of refugees from Turkey would have slowed to a trickle by now. But already this year, thousands more have made the often perilous journey to Greece. And it's in Germany that many of them want to end up. But after taking in more refugees than any other nation, the mood here has changed. The sex attacks during the New Year's celebrations, blamed largely on asylum seekers, has increased the clamour for a drastic reduction in their numbers. Like other European nations, Germany is looking to Turkey for help. The European Union has offered Turkey more than $3 billion to help it tackle the refugee crisis, but it wants to see results. For its part, Turkey says it's already making big efforts and wants more support from the international community. Here in Berlin, they're trying to reach agreement on what exactly needs to be done. The EU is particularly concerned about Syrian children in Turkey. Although many are getting an education, about 200,000 are missing out. If their children are able to go to school in Turkey, their parents might be less desperate to make the journey to Europe. So there are calls for a large part of the $3.3 billion to be spent on education.
When they turn back to their home country, there could be a lost generation also for the re-establishment of the Syria or to continue their life in a third country. So that's why the education is one of the biggest issue.
Among other measures already in place, Turkey has agreed to give work permits to 1.7 million Syrian refugees. It allows them to stay and earn a living in the country rather than head to Europe. Turkey will also allocate extra resources to catch human traffickers and increase efforts to seal its border with Syria. But some people say Turkey, along with the 28 countries of the EU, will be dealing with the refugee problem for years to come.
It's not a short-term problem, it's not a temporary problem. We have to make together 28 plus 1, we have to make together and refugee policy, migration policy and integration policy together, I think.
It will need the rest of the EU to bring such a policy about, but it's hoped that Turkey and Germany, working together, will be able to at least make a start. Well, Turkey says that money is not the issue. It says that it's actually spent $10 billion on the refugee situation, and it's more about the humanitarian situation. So plenty to discuss here in Berlin as the day progresses.